I think a lot of my viewers who've been following me for years are not because uh, I have this playlist here, and I started in 2021 because I could, even before that, I could see it coming. UK economic collapse, 2021 and beyond. So, unfortunately, Rachel Reeves, she's caught between a rock and a hard place. Friday, November 21st, 2025, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Well, the Mario and Clive chat on a Friday has been disrupted a little bit of late, but we're back today. And unfortunately, I think we're going to be disrupted next week, but that's the way it goes. How are you, Clive?
Hello, Mario. Nice to see you again. As you know, I'm back from China for about 2 or 3 weeks, and I have to say, China is booming, despite what people think.
Yeah, talking about China, I heard from a friend of mine because a couple of weeks ago, I think there's a rumor that or a story that Chinese Bitcoin were stolen or hacked by, and they blamed the Americans. But a friend of mine actually said that that was just like a kind of a head fake, and that apparently the Chinese, with the help of the North Koreans, have been able to basically find break the Bitcoin code with quantum computing, and that's why Bitcoin this morning, I don't know if you've seen it, got down to 82,000, which is like a 35% correction from the all-time high. But that's only speculation, of course. But if that were true, what do you think would happen to the Bitcoin price if the Chinese had been able to crack the Bitcoin code? That would be quite serious, wouldn't it?
It would be, but I think it's extremely. It's just not plausible at all, Mario. I mean, there's an article from Coin Analysis. It came out 2 days ago, and Analysis or Coin Analysis. They're the real experts when it comes to everything to do with blockchain. And basically, they said quantum computing's ability to crack crypto codes is 5 to 15 years away. And the crypto community is working on solutions. And as of today, they say it's absolutely impossible. So what we know is that the quantum computing to crack a Bitcoin code, and that would still take 8 hours if they did it, would require millions of qubits. We're currently at only a few dozen qubits, and these it need millions of qubits which are error free. And I think we're at 100 qubits at the moment, and only a very, very small percentage of those are currently error-free. So they say basically we're many, many years away from it. So I don't believe it's anything to do with the ability. I don't think it's possible to crack a Bitcoin code as of today.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. I wanted to hear your opinion on it. Maybe the Bitcoin whales are liquidating some of their profits to buy Christmas presents and
Yeah,
Thanksgiving.
that is true.
Oh, and
One of the original
Thanksgiving.
people. Sorry, but go on, Mario.
Yeah, and Thanksgiving, Clive. And with that, I wanted to let the viewers know that our end of Fed mugs and everything else in the merchandise store, we've got 10% off up until I think the 15th of December for Black Friday, Christmas. And I think these are good, Clive. Like this is supposed to be Charles Lindbergh and Rudy. Charles Lindbergh was the aviator's father, but he was also a congressman. And this is what he said here. It's on the back of the mug about the Federal Reserve. He said, this establishes, or the Federal Reserve Act establishes the most gigantic trust on earth. When the President Woodrow Wilson signs this bill, this invisible government of the monetary power will be legalized. The worst legislative crime of the ages is perpetrated by this banking and currency bill. Uh, I think he was spot on, Clive. The yeah, the bankers unfortunately still are in control of everything. And one of the reasons for it is the creation of the Federal Reserve. I'm not saying they weren't powerful before that. And the other one that we have is with Thomas Jefferson. And he said something really interesting as well, Clive. He said, I sincerely believe that banking establishments are more dangerous than standing armies, and that the principle of spending money to be paid by posterity under the name of funding is but swindling futurity on a large scale. And I know you were a private banker, which is different. This is like commercial banking, I would say. But he's been right as well. The U.S. is running, well, approaching 40 trillion national debt. And we're not just Americans, and here as well, we've got a lot of debt in the UK. We're not just paying it ourselves, but our children, grandchildren, great grandchildren will be paying it, unless, of course, there's some kind of currency collapse and the debt is wiped out. But then a lot of people are going to be hurt because this debt is used to finance a lot of government projects, aside from lining the pockets of the bankers. So, yeah, check out the merchandise store. There's a link below in the description. You get 10% off everything. And there's some new mugs. Clive, it's a Gnome of Zurich mug. Uh,
Are they are these mugs all the same shape and size?
some
Like,
are smaller, but yeah, they're
okay,
the same shape and they're quite big actually. So,
yeah, look, it would be a nice collection, wouldn't it?
yeah.
To have a collection of four or six when you have
Yeah.
friends round.
Yeah. Or you can
Um,
send it as a present for, friends as well.
did you know that the US government debt has increased by about 2 trillion since the 1st of July?
Wow. I guess that's because there was the debt ceiling had to.
Yeah, it would have been to do with the debt ceiling, but of course they probably haven't yet paid the back pay to the furloughed employees. You know, they had several million employees who weren't being paid. They've now announced they're going to pay them their back pay and their overtime that they would have done, and they said that will take several days. That was a couple of days ago, so
Yeah.
probably. And so the figure I got of nearly 2 trillion was before they'd paid these people their back pay.
Yeah, I mean, it's not getting better. And talking about that, Clive, we had some statistics this morning in the UK. And again, it's not good. UK government borrows higher than expected, 17.4 billion in October. It was expected to have borrowed 15 billion. And we also had retail sales down. Uh, it came out also lower than expected. So things are not really well. And this woman, this economist from Capital Economics said, Ruth Gregory at Capital Economics said the figures, the last big economic releases before the budget, which is next, I think it's next Thursday or next
Yeah,
Wednesday.
it's next
Wednesday.
week,
Yeah,
sometime next week.
Wednesday. She said it's painting a pretty grim picture. And I'm not surprised, Clive. And I think a lot of my viewers who have been following me for years are not because I have this playlist here and I started in 2021 because I could, even before that, I could see it coming. UK economic collapse 2021 and beyond. So unfortunately, Rachel Reeves, she's caught between a rock and a hard place, even though, yeah, and I don't think anyone else would have done any better. But at least she's accelerating things, I think, because she keeps digging deeper, and by that, the digging the hole deeper, and by that I mean that she's not cutting spending as we've seen and borrowing, and she's raising taxes and punishing the private sector, and she's going to do it again, I think, come next Wednesday. And
So, so Mario, okay.
the reason she's doing it is that, well, the her backbenchers, the people who really make this government possible. That's what they want. They don't, socialists. They, yeah, they don't realize eventually they'll run out of other people's money, as Margaret Thatcher once said.
So, Mario, when are you leaving the UK?
I'm not really. I'm not. Because it's not any better anywhere else. And if anything, it we could get out of the hole before everyone else does because we might hit the bottom of the hole before. Right now, yeah, I've done what's necessary to be in a good position. And by that, I mean I've gotten out of debt. I've tried to stack as much as possible, tried to live within my means. And it doesn't mean to say you don't enjoy life. So I'm all right here. I mean, I was in Italy before I met you in Switzerland, seeing some friends. I don't think I told anyone, but we were in Milan for a few days to see how nice it is there. It's a nice place. My friend lives in a nice community, but yeah, they have problems as well. They told us in
Yeah.
Italy. It's
Excess,
everywhere.
we're the biggest indebted countries in Europe are France and Italy. They're really, I mean, so I think Britain is a close third place. And clearly it's going to come into focus next week when she has the budget, because whatever she puts in the budget, people are not going to like it.
Yeah. There's another news from the UK that I want your opinion on, Clive. And I saw just this morning, and it came out 3 days ago. The Bank of England has raised the deposit guarantee for if you have money in a bank account. I think in Switzerland it's 100,000 francs.
Yeah.
Up until right now, it's 85,000 here. So if I have a joint account with my wife, we have 165,000 guarantee. I don't have that much in the bank, but some people do. So they're going to raise it to 120 by the 1st of December. I mean, this is quite a big rise. They say that it's to keep pace with inflation, and I think the last time it was raised was back in 2017. Do you think that's a sign that the Bank of England is concerned about the banking sector, or it was just time that they raised it?
Well, I think it's reflecting a concern that people will withdraw too much or not place enough money in the banking sector. Anybody with their brains in gear divvies up their money between the banks, so they've got no more than 100,000 or 85,000 pounds per bank. So by raising that figure to 120,000, they're basically substantially or allowing people to have substantially more on each account, and therefore a smaller number of accounts. It gets less spread around. I think that's kind of to allow people to have more concentration of their wealth in one place, really. But of course, that does, if you have more in one place, it does make it easier to seize if things go terribly wrong through some sort of bail-in.
Yeah, maybe also the Bank of England is noticing that business at the Royal Mint is going through the roof, and people are buying a lot of sovereigns.
Yeah, I'm hearing from a friend that who's with a large gold dealer here in Switzerland that they have far more buys than ever before, despite the fact that the gold price is 10% below the peak. So you wouldn't have thought people would be queuing up to buy gold, but apparently they are.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with gold. People don't understand. It's doesn't matter if the price goes higher. People won't stop buying if they're fearful. And I think like that happened during the Great Depression. I was reading Benjamin Roth's diary. I don't know if you heard of that.
No.
And he was a lawyer in the U.S. And he wasn't an economist or anything, but his sons found years later that he kept a diary. And he was, even though in the U.S. after 33 it was illegal to buy gold, he wrote about how gold was in demand, massive demand in other countries in the West, and that people wanted more and more gold because they were scared of leaving their money in the bank or leaving their money in the stock market. So yeah, that's an interesting story there that I thought you'd like, and the viewers. Have you got any stories, Clive, that you
Well,
think are worth talking about?
I mean, I can tell you when I had somebody wrote to me last night, not really on gold, but it's kind of slightly related. As you know, we've been seeing a lot of this stuff about rare metals or the strategic minerals. And he wrote to me from Germany, very disappointed. He said, I saw that Trump was supporting strategic minerals, so I dived in on the back of that, and I bought all these strategic mineral companies. Some of them are down 60% now. And he sent me a list. I went to have a look. Every single one of them is not making profit. So just a little warning to your viewers, it's not just the stories about gold. Gold is a very good story, but the strategic mineral story, if you're buying into companies which are making that, I couldn't find one which is making profits at the moment.
The rare
So
earths, you mean,
the
right?
rare, yeah,
I think, sorry to interrupt, but I think the what's going on there is that these companies are still in an exploration stage because we don't really have any like extraction, let alone production and of rare earths in the U.S. So it's like buying a junior gold and silver miner, and that's why they're not making profits. I think it's a long-term thing, and people saw this and they just jumped in without doing their research,
I mean,
unfortunately.
I mean, one of these companies that he'd bought, it was what they call a SPAC, SPAC, which is one of these speculative companies which then buys another company. So they bought this company with a with the word rare earths or something in it anyway. But this company that they bought never ever made a profit. Then having got effectively new owners, they came out with an announcement which said, "We are in communication with the administration." What does that mean? So this company's never dug up a single, never even dug a hole. And they said, but they got the word rare earths in their company name. We are in communication with the administration. The share price rocketed to the moon on the back of that. And what does we in communication with the administration mean? It means probably they sent an email to somebody.
Yeah, maybe to Eric Trump or something.
And then got no reply. But they
Yeah.
call that big. We are in communication. But the share price went to the moon, and that's when this poor German guy thought it was a good time to buy because he read the same thing, and the share price is now down 60% from what he paid.
Yeah, beware of these kind of comments, I would say, and just because the any government is behind something doesn't mean it's gonna go to the moon. You need to do your homework about it. Clive, I think one thing that was really interesting yesterday was the market move in the Nasdaq and Nvidia.
Oh yes,
On the
absolutely
yeah,
amazing.
on the prior day, it came out after the close that they did really well. Their sales and Nvidia was up massively. Nasdaq was up. Even yesterday, when the market opened, I think Nasdaq was up over 2%, I think. And then everything turned. And of course, there's been a lot of speculation about it being a bubble and that it's overstretched. And I'm going to share this with you because I saw that someone on X, he reposted this to me and Rafi and asked, "What do you think?" You know, and this is from this guy here, Shanaka Anselm Pereira. I don't know who he is, but he's got 60,000 followers. Author and ideologist exploring money, AI, science, and sovereignty. So he does look at AI, and he said last night, and I think he means Wednesday night at 4 p.m.
9:48.
EST, something unprecedented happened. Nvidia stock rallied 5% on earnings, then crashed into negative territory within 18 hours. Wall Street algorithms detected what humans couldn't. The numbers don't add up. And I don't, hopefully you don't mind I go through this because I
Yeah,
think
no,
it's
it's
important.
very interesting, and I
Yeah,
hadn't read that.
he says, here's what they found. These are humans now. They found Nvidia reported 33.4 billion in unpaid bills, up 89% in 1 year. Customers who bought chips haven't paid for them yet. The average wait time for payment stretched from 46 days to 53 days. The extra week represents 10.4 billion that may never arrive. Meanwhile, Nvidia stockpiled 19.8 billion in unsold chips. I guess that's their inventory, up 32% in 3 months. But management claims demand is insane and supply is constrained. Both cannot be true. Either customers aren't buying or they're buying without cash. The cash flow tells the real story. Nvidia generated 14.5 billion actual cash, but reported 19.3 billion in profit. That doesn't seem to make sense to me. The gap is 4.8 billion. Healthy chip companies like TSMC and AMD convert 95% of profits to cash. Nvidia converts 75%. That's distress level. And he says, here's where it gets criminal. Nvidia gave 2 billion to xAI, and xAI borrowed 2.5 billion to buy Nvidia chips. Microsoft gave OpenAI 13 billion. OpenAI committed 15 billion to buy Microsoft Cloud. Microsoft ordered 100 billion Nvidia chips for that cloud. Oracle gave OpenAI 300 billion in cloud credits. OpenAI ordered Nvidia chips for Oracle data centers. Just this circular financing.
It's all it's incestuous.
So your opinion on this, Clive, and do you think, because you looking at the charts, technical analysis, we're looking more at fundamental. The technicals looked like yesterday was a massive day because we made a massive move up and then we turned around and went down massively. I think the Nasdaq went 1,000 points lower from its highs at least.
Well, there's a clear distinction between bull markets and bear markets. In bull markets, stocks go up on good news and they go up on bad news. In bear markets, stocks go down on good news and they go down on bad news. So we just had some good news from Nvidia. In other words, I mean, let's ignore all that AI stuff that we just read about. Let's just look at the headline number, which was smashing all the analysts' estimates. They, was supposedly a really good number. The sales were more than expected. The earnings were more than expected. So at face value, ignoring that particular thing which you read out, it was good news. But the stock went down. So that is a sign of potentially, I mean, it's not the only one because we might have other things which come, but it's potentially a sign of a bear market starting when you have good news and stocks go down. And of course, the worrying thing here is now, just having read that, it does sound like there are some let's say some sort of deeper analysis emerging about this profit. To what extent is the profit as real as we think? Is it really turning into cash? Well, obviously, this guy's pointed out that they made a big profit, but where's the cash? It's not, they only have half the three quarters of the cash. Where's the difference gone? So there's a question mark there over whether these figures are, let's say, being without that interpretation, but being a little bit too good for the reality.
Yeah. No, I agree. I
mean, Nvidia is an absolutely mammoth company, so I'm quite sure that everything they're reporting is 100% within the law because they'll have armies of lawyers and experts advising them on what they can and can't do. But of course, when it comes to what you can do, there will be things that they can do which make the numbers look good.
Yeah, it's a little bit like in golf. I watch a bit of professional golf, and the pros know all the rules of the game, and they really exploit that. And sometimes it feels like when they take a drop, they hit the ball into a bad place, and then they find an excuse and they call the officials and say, "I want to use this rule," and their bad shot is actually not that bad anymore because they've used the rules and it doesn't seem fair. But like amateurs don't know all the rules of the game, and it seems like Nvidia is exploiting all these things that they can do to make things look even better. And I think that's probably pushed the market higher than it should. Maybe that's what, but we'll
Well,
still have to wait and see because it's really tough to call a
well,
top and say that a bubble has burst.
one of the things I always look at when I'm buying a share is the cash flow, because cash cannot lie. Profits can be manipulated. I mean, in its simplest form, a company like Nvidia could sell some chips to somebody who's never going to pay and call it profit.
And call it cash flow as well.
But well, they can't call it cash flow until the
No.
money is the cash doesn't lie.
Yeah.
When the money's in the bank, that's not lying.
Yeah,
You've got
but it
it.
looks like they're
But
waiting for a lot of cash still as well.
so well, that was the example we saw, that they've the number of weeks people are taking to pay has gone up. But there's other ways of making a profit. You could revalue your buildings, you could revalue your stock. If I mean, a good example of that is many of the investment companies around the world, including Berkshire Hathaway. You see large swings in their profits up and down because the assets that they hold are being revalued from one quarter to the next. But
Mm,
that's not real profit. It's paper profit.
yeah, yeah. Um, Yesterday we had the jobs number. I saw that I think Kevin Hassett. I think he's the head of the chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors. He said that the numbers were like they hit it out of the ballpark, which is like a home run, which is a good thing. But I didn't think it was that great. It was 119,000 jobs created. I mean, if the economy is so hot as the Trump administration says, jobs creation should be over 200,000. That's how much you need to keep up with the population growth. And the previous number, Clive, guess what? They revised it down from
Yeah.
22,000 to minus 4,000. So, yeah,
Well,
I don't
that's
think
par
the
for the
US,
course.
yeah. What do you think about the economy?
Well, we've got growing evidence that the level of unemployment. I haven't seen the latest numbers. I hadn't had time to look at them, but there's growing evidence over the last few months that the number of people who are unemployed in America have been rising, and we also know that over the last several years, these job numbers have been consistently inflated, and then they constantly revise down the previous months. And when you revise down the previous months, it makes the number of new jobs created in the month appear to be much larger. So if they created 100,000 jobs but revised down the previous number by, let's say, 50,000, I don't know what they did, then you should really, to get the real number, knock off 50 from the current report.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just going to bring it
I
up.
think the unemployment rate, yeah, it rose to 4.4%, which is still historically it's still really low, but it's the highest in quite a few months. I think since COVID. But I think it'd been hovering between 4 and 4.3. But yeah, I think the market now doesn't expect another cut on the 10th of December. I'm not sure, but that could change very quickly, in my opinion. And the bond markets, have you seen what's happening in Japan? The yield, long-term yields there are rising quite a bit. This morning they've kind of slowed down a bit. They actually came off a bit, but it doesn't look very good. And Clive, the other thing about the UK is that I can't believe that, how overvalued actually the gilts are. I think with the situation, inflation, and also the fiscal situation in the economy, I think 10-year yields should be a lot higher than 456. And we've been consolidating without rising since that trust quarantine crisis in 2022. So I think this budget could be a trigger for higher yields, and that would be pretty bad. I just can't see, unless the Bank of England intervenes and tells the big financial institutions that they're okay, that they've got their back. and they can keep buying it. I'm not sure. What do you think?
I think the reaction of the gilts market will depend on whether people believe that the budget is going to come back into balance or not. Obviously, we expect that the budget will contain amendments to the pension rules and the tax rules, all designed to raise revenue in lots of different ways. Whether it will contain any spending cuts is another question. But whatever there's never a certainty that when you raise taxes, it has a positive effect. We're seeing that we saw in 2023 some 10,500 millionaires left the UK, probably for tax reasons. I guess a lot of them were UK resident non-doms, and I think the figure was 15 or 16,000 in 2024. And I did read just a day or two ago that this billionaire, what's his name, Lakshmi Mittal, I think he is, one of the steel magnates, he's a multi-billionaire, is mulling over leaving the UK for tax reasons. Hasn't done so yet, or at least there's no confirmed report. He probably has, but it's not confirmed yet. But certainly it's well known that he's mulling it over and actually intending to do it. So the more you raise the taxes, the more it becomes unacceptable for those who are earning the most to suffer that tax. And those who leave are not the poor millionaires. They're the rich millionaires. The ones that people with 100 million or a billion are the ones who are more likely to go. Whereas the guy with the poverty-stricken 10 millionaire, I say that as a bit of a joke, but the poor millionaires probably say, well, with only 10 million, I can't afford to go to Monaco or wherever, or
Yeah.
Dubai or wherever it is.
Yeah, I think in Monaco, you can buy a garage for your car for €1 million.
Yeah, I had one of my clients when I was working. He wasn't from the UK, but he was from another country where he felt he was overtaxed, and he decided to go to Monaco. But what really hurt him, he was paying some phenomenal sum, something like €30,000 a month for his rent.
Yeah.
I don't know what size place he had, but in his opinion, it was far too small for what he was paying.
Yeah, Clive, I don't know. The other day we were in the supermarket and they've got all the Christmas sweets and cakes out, and there's one called the Billionaire Cake. I thought that used to be called the Millionaire's Cake, but I guess they've had to. Pretty soon it will be the Trillionaire Cake. But Clive, you said that in relationship to the budget, you said it depends if the market believes that the government will be able to bring the budget into balance. But this is the budget.
Yeah.
The last time it was in balance was in 2000. So I mean, we're going to be waiting a long time, I think, for that.
Yeah, so as a betting man, there's two things. One is what people believe, or what she says we're supposed to believe, and the other one is what actually happens. We all know that it almost certainly will be in a deficit, but that won't be a planned deficit. There'll be
Yeah,
some things which
yeah.
happen along the way which will cause that deficit, or there always
Oh,
is.
the other thing they do is divide the budget into primary budget, and they say, oh, we'll have a primary surplus and all that rubbish. But one thing to me, Clive, is that if you look at the '08 crisis, of course, the Keynesians always increase spending when there's a crisis. So we saw that here. But then after that, yeah, government was reined in. We got to like 2% of GDP deficit, which isn't great, but it's better than the 5 or 6 that we have now. And then what really broke the camel's back, I think, is COVID and this 15% of GDP deficit. And we've never been able to recover from it. And it's one of the reasons why I started that playlist in 2021 saying economic collapse from 2021 and beyond. I don't think there's any way out, unfortunately, unless Martians come from outer space with 10,000 tons of gold for us. And that might not even help.
Yeah, obviously that gold would have to specifically land in the UK.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant. They would land near Threadneedle Street and give, and you'd see Martians meeting with Andrew Bailey.
Yeah, and just look at the chart of the British pound. It's been falling since the middle of the year, since July. So middle of the year it was about 138. Now it's 131. And I think that if we have a budget which shows anything more than 3% of GDP as the projected deficit, I think the pound will carry on down.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, talking about the pound, Clive. I've got here a new 2026 sovereign, which legally is a pound, and they've gone back to alloying the coin with silver. Prior to that, they were using copper, so it was like the sovereign was like red gold, looked like a copper coin. So yeah, it's back to being yellow. It's a beautiful coin.
Okay. Did you get that from the Royal Mint?
No, I got it from a dealer. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I had to wait a bit because it's just come out, and you've got Chucky Three Sticks, King Charles III,
Hmm.
and
You're gone.
the around the edge here, they've got the motto of the "Honi soit qui mal y pense." Over here, that's a new thing. That's the motto of the, I think, Order of the Garter. A shame on those who think of evil or something. So it's quite interesting.
The sovereigns I like are the old Victorian ones. And if you're lucky enough to get yourself a Victorian one with what's called the shield on the back, that I think there's the front end is the bun where she's got her hair in a
Yeah.
bun. They're quite rare.
Yeah, some particular years because I have some of those, the shield backs. And I found one a few years ago, and I have a book about sovereigns, and it goes back to 1821 and tells you which ones are rarer than others. And I saw this one, I said, wow, this is really rare. And I went to a coin dealer, and he actually paid me almost double for it, and I used that to buy another sovereign.
So you
And
got £2. You got £2 for it, Mario.
yeah, yeah, £2 for it. So I use that to buy another sovereign and then keep the cash. So
Okay.
that was a
Well,
good.
you were lucky. How did you come across the rare one? Was it like a
I just had it,
yeah?
I must have bought it from a dealer and they didn't check because a lot
Mm.
of precious metals dealers, they're not numismatists or collectors, so sometimes they just sell it.
They just do everything by weight, don't they?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Have you been buying any real money lately?
Yes, well, it'll be about 3 or 4 weeks ago when I was at the Zurich Coin Fair. So once a year they have a coin fair in Zurich in late October, and I got well at least £10,000 worth, or yeah, a bit more than that, of mostly sovereigns. I was quite lucky actually. There was a guy. A, a dealer was talking to another dealer, and they were striking a deal to sell sovereigns from one to the other. And the buyer, the buying dealer, hadn't really made up his mind. He said, "I want to inspect them, make sure they're all real," and he wanted a few hours to inspect them. So while he was doing that, I came up to him and said, if you're interested in buying those from that other guy, I'll buy them off you at spot,
Mm,
based on the gold value.
yeah.
And he looked pretty pleased with it because it'd be a very fast turnaround. Anyway, he went through the process of checking it, and I came back a few hours later, and he now, and just as I arrived, he'd struck the deal with the seller and shaking hands and took the coins. And then I arrived, and then I immediately, as soon as the other guy went away, I bought them from him at spot. So he probably paid a little bit below spot to the other guy,
Mm,
which was a good deal
yeah.
because sovereigns usually trade at several £100 above the spot price.
I want to because I want to bringing up this chart here. Um, so, and I'm gonna share it with you and the viewers. Uh, this is the price of gold reversed in pounds.
So
So
what we're looking at is
I took the price of gold in pounds and I took one divided by the price of gold in pounds. So, and this is since 1971. So you can see that it's going, well, it says here is at zero. And the reason I brought this is because I wanted to talk about how much I paid for this. I paid almost 800 pounds for it. And I remember the first sovereign I bought for for me and my wife, I think it was 52 pounds. And some people might say you're crazy buying it at 800 if you don't you think it's overvalued. But the way I look at it is that I don't see the pound recovering, nor the dollar, nor the euro. So, and that's why, Clive, I think when that's why there's still demand for it, even though the price is higher, because gold is a different kind of commodity. It's money. Is that
Yeah.
how you look at it?
Yeah, Marriott's money. The first time I ever saw a sovereign physically with my eyes was 1962 or thereabouts, and I checked the price some years back. It would have been about £3 for a sovereign. So £1 sovereign would have been worth £3 in 1962,
Yeah.
and now it's worth what 800? I don't know.
Yeah, this is the well, I've done one here for the dollar. So it's going the same. It's not just the pound. So here we are. Before Nixon, yeah, money was a fixed weight of gold. Sometimes they adjusted it, like they did here in 33. And but then Nixon just some people say it was not just Nixon was just the front man, right? But they wrecked the system, and I don't see this chart going back up, Clive.
I mean, the problem that Nixon faced was countries from all around the world, including France, UK, and Switzerland, for example, were sending their dollars back to America and asking for it to be redeemed in gold, as they were entitled to do, at the official price of $35 an ounce. And America basically saw that if they met all the demands which were coming from everywhere, they wouldn't have enough gold in the vaults to give everybody what they owed them. So what really triggered it at the end was France had sent a battleship into, I guess, New York to pick up their gold. And unfortunately for France, their battleship had to leave empty-handed because Nixon then closed the gold window and said, "Sorry, you can't have it because if I give it to you, I've got to be fair to everybody else and give it to everybody else. But no, you can't all have
Yeah.
it. It's not there."
Technically, well, a lot of countries at the time had dollar reserves, and technically, I would say they are entitled to have the gold at that price of $35.
Well,
You
that
know,
that
that
was
would,
that was what was agreed in
yeah,
Bretton Woods. The whole
yeah,
world
they
went
could
went onto the dollar standard in
44.
1945, 44
Yeah,
was it? They went on the dollar standard on the premise that
yeah,
the dollar was going to be always exchangeable into gold at the official price of the US Treasury at $35. Had the world been told, well, you're on a dollar standard, but you can't ever change it to gold, nobody would have agreed.
that's right. Clive, before we wrap up, there's some, in my opinion, very important news, and it's to do with Ukraine. And it looks like President Trump has, yeah, it's not a done deal yet, but it says here U.S. plan for Ukraine-Russia peace calls on Kiev to cede land under its control. Ukrainian officials say President Zelensky is being pressed to agree to terms negotiated by the U.S. and Russia. And one of the deals here is that the U.S. is going to give two-thirds is going to unfreeze those reserves, Russian reserves. They're going to take 100 billion, and that's going to be used to rebuild the Ukraine. And the rest, Russia is going to join with the U.S. to develop the Arctic. Uh, I'm not sure if this is going to happen, and Zelensky is going to give up a lot of land, the Ukraine, of course, and they're not going to be able to join NATO, but they'll be able to join the EU. And there's a guy here that I follow. He's from the Duran, which is a really good channel on YouTube, Alex. And in the Duran, he has another guy he talks with, Alexander. So they're really they're really good in terms of the geopolitics. And he says about this deal, he says Trump's Russia-Ukraine peace deal, if this is indeed the deal, can best be summed up as Ukraine capitulates to Russia, Russia capitulates to the USA. In football terms, the league table would be USA 2 points, Russia 1, Ukraine 0. This plan can also be seen as Trump's invitation to Russia to re-enter the unipolar world. So that would be, I'm not sure. I think Russia wants to keep 1 foot. I don't think Russia wants a unipolar world. What do you think?
No, I don't think so. I think it will be still the continued standoff that we've always had. Well, I mean, one thought here from an investment. Every time you have some news, you've got to look at, is there an opportunity here? Now, if you believe this will happen, you want to be looking at companies which have got Russian assets, i.e., Western companies where those Russian assets have been written down to zero, and maybe if those sanctions are lifted, won't be worth zero.
Yeah, that's right. The other thing I think is Trump is trying to stop de-dollarization, and he's trying to lure the Russians back into the dollar sphere because he doesn't like the central banks buying all the gold. But I think the cat's out of the bag,
Yeah.
Clive, or and people don't trust not just the U.S. They don't trust anyone anymore, so they need the gold.
Yeah, so I can actually see Russia saying, "Thank you, America. You've told us what to do. We'll go. We'll now go and sell all our gold for dollars." I'm sure that's going to happen. What do you think, Mario?
Yet.
Yet, yes, exactly. Won't happen.
All right, Clive, that was great speaking with you again. And I guess you be on for the Sunday live stream?
Yes, I'll be here
Yeah.
Friday, but I won't be here next Friday, I'm afraid, Mario.
Sunday, you mean you'll be,
Yeah, I'll be here on Sunday, but not in a
no
week, not
problem.
next. Yeah,
Okay. It's quite sunny here. It's really nice, but it's 0 degrees cold.
we are too. We're going to be -4 tomorrow in Switzerland.
All right. All right. Great.
Cheers.
Cheers.